All systems go. Clear for liftoff.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the SHIPIT Nation Cash Game Show for Week 11 of the NFL season. And as always, joined by my guy, Title, who just got off the MMA show. So if you're playing MMA this weekend, make sure you check out that show on our channel. Himself and Marley just got done breaking it all down. 14 fight card, which is nice. You know, we like 13, but man, when we get 14, we'll definitely take it. Fingers crossed that all fights stay on board. Should be a pretty exciting card. I looked at some of the preliminary stuff that you and Marley got up, and it looks like a good one. A lot of inside the distance stuff, a lot of big favorites, and I'm looking forward to it. So yeah, talk about that. Talk about, you know, man, last night the NFL, that was a weird one. The Joe Burrow injury, no injury thing, and then Mark Andrews going down. So it was a weird showdown slate. And it sounds like the NFL is going to look into the Burrow stuff. I'm sure nothing will come of it, but unfortunate for people last night that got heavy on the Bengals, and apparently they knew there was some sort of issue there. So yeah, what's going on?
Yeah, tough scene. I mean, we should have known. I mean, wow, we get a great game, Bengals, Ravens, AFC battle. You should have known some BS was going to happen. Andrews early, and then Lamar goes to the medical tent for a little bit too. It's like, oh gosh, we're going to lose that. And then the next drive, you lose the other side and Burrow. Hey, solo shipper, 500K. There's some man out there or woman. I always say, what's up, guys, when I host, and someone say, hey, Title, there's girls in here too. I know. Guys, I just use it both ways. But guy or girl, someone won 500,000 yesterday, and that man or woman is very happy. So, hey, happy for whoever that was out there. It was not me. As far as MMA, oh, yeah, man, 14 fights. You'll never – could be the fourth. It could be 28 random names. There's still 100K up top. There's still plenty of combinations. Ownership's more spread out. Going to be a fun one in the MMA streets. And hey, if I'm you guys out there right now, I'm just heading over to Marley's fight rankings and doing what Marley's doing because that man is on a heater. So excited for that. Excited to talk some football, and cash games have been good as of late. I think a lot of last week I try and tag more popular people. Last week it was all over the place, so I went Rachaad White, and it took people off a very certain roster construction. Did Rachaad White lead to? Yeah, he ran well. There's no doubt about it. He took the screen in, but allowed you to be up at receiver, the Amon-Ra's, the CD Lambs, C-Mac didn't get there as much. So, yeah, I saw a lot of great screenshots. Good week. Week 10 in the cash streets, but excited to talk some football on this Friday afternoon with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, the cash stuff has been on point, all season long. No doubt about it. Every week our members are in there. Oh, another week I cashed. So you've been doing a hell of a job with that content. And we'll have all our content up early like we always do. So you guys can get in there and start building your lineups and then get in the Discord and, ask any additional questions that you do have. So make sure to get on over to SHIPITNation.com. As you can see, we're screen sharing here with the Solver. We're partnered with the Solver. They're our preferred optimizer. Link on our website to get access. And then if you do that and you are a member at SHIPIT Nation, everything comes preloaded. So as you can see here, our projections are all preloaded right here in the Solver. It makes it very easy to look at everything. So make sure to get on over to SHIPITNation.com. In terms of cash games this week, seems like a pretty solid slate. I mean, not only for cash, but GPPs as well. I think some bigger totals. The last couple weeks, it seems like we've had a plethora of games with very, very low totals. This one, some decent spots. I think there's some decent plays. Not much in terms of injuries. We have to wait and see on the Dolphins running backs. Mostert is questionable. A-Chain potentially coming back. Barkley questionable. Aaron Jones is questionable, but I feel like he's been questionable every single game lately, and he just ends up playing. Garrett Wilson listed as questionable, expected to play. Keenan Allen, questionable. I guess the biggest news maybe for cash games would be Nico Collins, listed as questionable, limited participant on Thursday. So whatever update we get on him today, will be pretty big. I mean, Tank Dell looks like he's going to be a stud in this league, and I believe our projections like him. Yes, our projections right now are assuming Collins is out. Let's see. Yes, we have him projected for like 5, so it's kind of assuming that he's not going to play. Yeah. So if he's in, Tank Dell will come down a little bit, but not a ton in terms of injuries. Is there anything I'm missing, or does it seem pretty straightforward on the injury front at least?
Yeah, no, injuries it does, and the Nico Collins news is pretty big. Like these Texans, we're going to talk about a decent amount, especially running back, wide receiver, and they do take downgrades if a Nico Collins is in. But no. Yeah, most of the news. I mean, it is week 11, so random stuff pops up. But as of now on Friday, it looks more clean than it has the past couple of weeks, but still some decisions to be made.
Yeah, certainly.
We didn't touch on that. This was like 3 hours ago, I think, 4 hours ago. But if you did not hear, Noah Brown is also out. I did not see Collins was in for sure. So if someone can clarify for sure about the Collins news, I do know for sure Noah Brown is out. So. We'll touch on quarterback outlook when you were talking too.
We actually have Noah Brown as being in, so there will be some adjustments here. We always do like a Friday afternoon, Friday evening update, just because that's when a lot of the news breaks and you have a much clearer picture. So make sure to check back tonight.
Limited, so it looks like he's gonna play.
Nico Collins.
Brown's out for sure. 3. It looks like Collins out. Play.
Nico Collins,
but that projection's gonna boost up. Not sure if we're getting there in cash, but Tank Dell is definitely the play.
Yeah, Tank Dell's the man. What about Robert Woods? He's 3.7. Okay, yeah. So we'll talk about that when we get to wide receiver. In terms of quarterback, we'll start on DraftKings, and it just seems very clear. It seems like this is clearly a week to pay down, and we really don't have the studs to pay up for. You could go Tua, I think, at 7.7. I mean, the team total for Miami is massive. I think it's right around 30 almost. They're going to score points, and it could be a Tua game. So if you are coming up to this range, I'd probably prefer Tua over Josh Allen, which seems coming into the season that would be like a hot take, but not at this point in the season with the way the Bills are kind of running right now. So it would be Tua up top. I don't think you need to do that though. There's a bunch of guys. Our projections like Purdy, I like him too at 5,800. Geno Smith, I don't know. I think I actually prefer Kyler over Geno for 200 more. Kyler Murray in a dome looked solid last week. I played him quite a bit in GPPs, and he didn't have like the explosive performance, but he got us 18 fantasy points, ran the ball 6 times, looked pretty good, has a good connection with Trey McBride, which is nice. So I don't know. He might actually be my preference in this range, even over like Purdy. Trevor Lawrence at 6K. I mean, a lot of jokes I've made throughout the season about his ceiling being 15 or whatever. And man, it's been true. Like it is, he just cannot get there, but a really good spot for him at home against Tennessee, kind of like a pass funnel. And Jacksonville's projected to, put up some points, but I don't know. I think in this range, my preference is going to be Kyler. Sam Howell you can throw into the mix as well. I don't think there's 5 or 6 guys that you can play in this range. Purdy, Geno if you want. I don't really love him though, but Kyler, Lawrence, and Howell. And then Jared Goff is kind of right there though as well. But Goff scares me a little bit just because I know they will just run the ball if they have a lead. Like they are totally fine shutting it down and going to the run. Obviously, they got in a little bit of a back and forth last week. And then the last guy I'm going to mention. And I don't know if I actually love him for cash this week, but we did talk about him, and you know who it is. It's my new boy, Dak Prescott, who has continued to print for myself and the SHIPIT Nation community. And again, this would be a play. If I just had $7,300 left and he'd fit, I would play him in cash games. I love what they're doing. Like, I think this could be a Tony Pollard week. We'll talk about it when we get to running back, but we've been saying that like all season long. Like it has to happen at some point. I'm fully convinced. I think this could be it, but man, if I had 7,300, I'd be totally fine just playing Dak. So I don't know. There's a lot of different ways to go. You're probably going to end up in this upper 5 or lower 6K range is how I'm seeing it. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. Like, I don't think we need to go all the way down to Dorian Robinson-Thompson. Some weeks, I played Aiden O'Connell earlier in the year, so some weeks it's tighter. I don't think pricing's tight enough to need to do that, but I also don't think I will have the money for Dak, Tua. I think that's more tournaments. I really do think it's right in that 5.8 to 6.1 range. Purdy at 5.8, Trevor Lawrence or Geno at 5.9, Trevor at 6K, Kyler at 6.1. I guess you can say Sam Howell at 6.3 too, but the two main ones that I think are Purdy and Kyler. We'll get to the tight end position, but give away a freebie at the jump. Trey McBride is still 4.4K, and he should be 7.4K with his role. So cash games, it really doesn't mean as much. But sometimes when I'm debating two things that are very close, I go like playing multiple sites. So if I have a quarterback at FanDuel and I'm deciding two quarterbacks, maybe I go somewhere different in DK, etc. Some decisions I'll get to is I have a pass catcher on the Arizona side. If I don't have one on the San Fran side, maybe I do lean Kyler with his rushing upside in the 300 there. So kind of all price. I do prefer Kyler in a vacuum. If I don't have the 300, definitely fine going Purdy. And then Geno at 5.9. Right now, I think I prefer the Purdys and the Kylers. Lawrence right there too, but I can't argue with any of those guys. I think that's mainly the range you want to stay in. The highest I'd probably go is CJ Stroud, which feels weird, but at home in a dome, they sling the ball. Again, you're going to be playing probably some Houston guys without Noah Brown, and you get the 700 goes a long way for Tua. Even the 300 down from Dak, I think probably CJ if a little more value opens up, but probably that high 5K, low 6K range.
Yeah, someone in the chat posted it, but yeah, Burrow out for the season. Ligament damage, requires surgery. Yeah, that's unfortunate because, slow start to the season for him, but he turned it around pretty quickly, and I have to imagine that the Bengals season is over at this point. That's definitely unfortunate.
You're probably feeling good not in the best ball streets too much. Burrow down, Andrews down. It's getting rough out here, Hoop. My best team on drafters had Andrews, and now it's probably stone dead. So
yeah, that was a tough one last night for the best ballers. There's no doubt. I mean, those are substantial injuries. Over on FanDuel, I think pretty similar. I guess one other name we could potentially throw in the mix would be Justin Fields. I don't love it. 7,400 though is very cheap. Probably playing from behind, has the rushing upside, more of a FanDuel play versus DK. Again, I don't necessarily love it. Geno and Matthew Stafford are under 7K. Geno Smith at 69. I definitely like him better on FanDuel opposed to DK. Stafford at 67. I'd be okay going down there. Trevor Lawrence at 7K, I think is fine. Again, Lawrence has been a frustrating guy because he has all the weapons out there, and he just doesn't get the job done like fantasy wise. But at 7K, I shit on him I think it was during our Sunday show, and I went and built my FanDuel team, and I was getting a lot of Trevor Lawrence. So I had to come back in and disclose the news to the chat. I was like, I know I just got done absolutely shitting on this guy, but I am going to play a little bit. And what do you know? But he had like 3 fantasy points or something. He was terrible.
What are you doing?
Exactly. I know. I was like, man, it's worked with Dak, where I've bashed Dak.
You were chirping me so hard. You were like, because I was like, Hoop, Trevor or this guy, I remember it. And you were like, my answer. I don't like 15 points. Well, you like 3.
And I was right. Yeah. It was worse than the 15. Even worse. Purdy to Kyler Murray, 76. I don't know. It's like you can play any of these guys. I really just don't have a very strong lean. I'm going to build out my squad, see what I have left, and kind of go from there. Like I said, Geno, Stafford, I guess Lawrence, Purdy's fine for me. Murray's fine for me. If I have a little bit more and I can get to Tua or Dak, I'd be fine with that as well. But, man, there's just no strong lean for me at the quarterback here.
No, I'm with you. I highly, highly doubt unless some big changes that a quarterback will be tagged on the cash report. I'll find if I have 6.7K, Matthew Stafford, sure. He's back in the dome, has his weapons. The field price tag way better, like you said, FanDuel. Fitz scoring a million times better. So he's the one big difference I see. But same like Kyle or Purdy, Trevor, those whoever I land on. I think DK is more condensed at quarterback.
Yeah, I fully agree. Let's talk some running back. We'll stick here on FanDuel. Before we get into it, though, please do us that favor. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, helps us out a ton. We're trying to get to 5,000 on this channel. If you haven't heard, Tambo is giving away 10% of his winnings at the King of the Beach this weekend, which is, I mean, beyond generous. I mean, it's just a very nice gesture to the community. So if he wins first place, he'll be giving away $30,000, which is just absolutely huge. But we want to get this channel up to 5,000 subscribers before that happens. I told him, I said, man, it's very nice that you're doing this giveaway. And I know you're trying to promote people to the SHIPIT Nation YouTube channel, but we got to set some sort of benchmark. Like, you can't give this money away until we hit that 5,000 number. So we're pushing for the 5. We're sitting at like 4.6 right now. So we're getting close. Every subscribe helps us. So please hit the subscribe and like button. Helps us out a ton, and it'll help Tambo give that money away a little quicker if we can get to that number. Running back, you can see here on our projections, a lot of guys showing up as solid value plays. One name I definitely want to hit on, man. It's been like probably the most polarizing name in cash games this season, Mr. Tony Pollard. In just like the nut situation, like all season long, like no competition. Well, now he's invited competition because of how poorly he's played, but just the perfect role. I mean, pass catching, goal line, everything you would want. And he just hasn't gotten the job done. Last week, 17-point favorites. Now, it benefited myself and others who said, you know what, I'm playing Dak over Pollard. Worked out well. This week, though, I think it could be the Pollard week, man. I know it's crazy to say, and everyone said last week, if he doesn't get it done here, it's over. I still have faith. $6,900, and it will be painful if he ends up with like 7 or 8 fantasy points, but I think this could be the Pollard spot. A lot of people might have given up on him at this point. There's a ton of other guys you can play, but I do have faith in Tony Pollard this week. I don't know the DraftKings price. We'll look at it when we get over there, but under 7K on FanDuel, 10-point favorites, projected to score a lot of points. I have to consider him. Could be a week where we have money just to go up and get McCaffrey. I mean, the best role in the NFL for running backs, and played deep into that game last week. They tried getting him that touchdown to extend the streak. Did not get the touchdown. But I'm willing to bet he gets in the box this week at home. They're 11-point favorites against Tampa Bay. Devin Singletary looked really good last week against the Bengals. I mean, he looked very solid, had the big game. Good spot for him at home against Arizona, only 6,500. Aaron Jones is up at the top here. He is questionable. I assume he plays, but 7K for him, very solid. Barkley, we got to have to wait on. He is questionable. I'm sure he does end up playing, but he's questionable. James Cook is another cheapie at 62. Breece Hall, 71. I mean, there's a lot of guys I think you can make the case for. Oh, one guy that's going to bump up a ton. Glad I saw this is Brian Robinson Jr. Antonio Gibson not going to play. He's going to move way up this list here, and probably is a very solid cash play this week. So you have a lot of options. The big talking point, though, is Tony Pollard. What are you doing with him? And then your other thoughts at running back on FanDuel.
Yeah, 3 big ones. So, yeah, the Brian Robinson. So, Antonio Gibson doubtful. Robinson gets a bump. He still is 7,200, though. So, at least he's not free. Like, Pollard's still cheaper. Aaron Jones, who's projecting well, is still cheaper. So, it's not he's going to be a lock by any means, but definitely will get a bump. Number 2, Dameon Pierce practiced today. So, he's been out the past couple weeks, has not practiced.
Yeah.
Didn't practice
That'll throw a wrench in the plans for sure.
Yeah, didn't practice Wednesday. Didn't practice Thursday. Practiced a bit today. It's an ankle injury. Just because he's practicing today does not mean I'm confident he's going to play by any means. Like, they didn't rule him out, though, like they ruled out Noah Brown. So that is a big piece of news we'll have to monitor going into Sunday. So Singletary, if Pierce is out, becomes a great play again. We were all over it last week, a way easier matchup. The role was still good 2 weeks ago. Just sometimes you do have to look at matchups. But, yeah, if Pierce is out, definitely Singletary. If Pierce is in, throws wrenches into things. Tony Pollard. I mean, at the end of the day, that's just like, I don't fade projections, and like for that price, like I'm going to play him in FanDuel cash right now unless something crazy happens. There's no doubt about that. And it makes it easier. Whereas DraftKings, I think, is easier to get away from with more better prices there. So yeah, Pete, like someone slid into the DMs, like, I swear not Pollard. You can't keep coring them in your cash and all that. Hey, if I'm playing them, I'm playing them. You guys don't need to always fall like that. It's been tilting, the price, the matchup, the game script. Just play
Yeah,
Dak.
no, I mean that game last week where he got the work like in the red zone. I mean, I'm not making excuses for him, but it just seemed like someone was right in his face every single time he got the ball. Like I don't think it was necessarily his fault on some of those carries, and throughout the season, it seems like he's just ran bad with like defenders literally like right in his face, and he's unable to go anywhere.
But yeah, unfortunately, we don't get points for running bad.
Correct.
But I'm with you. I mean, it's him, it's Jacobs. Like we keep saying the line's healthy. Tyron Smith's been back. But yeah, at the end of the day, I'll probably play him on FanDuel. I like the price more there than DK. Aaron Jones, a good price tag. If I have the money for C-Mac, yeah, you definitely can never say no. It's a big boy price tag, no doubt about that, though. Like I probably would be more inclined to just go Eckler because I think the 1,200 would go long enough. It's still pretty tough. Like Singletary grades out as the best play, I think, if Pierce is out, and Pollard, those two. If he's out, though, like those two stand out the strongest. There's Aaron Jones is questionable. Like he always gets banged up. There's A.J. Dillon in the mix. ETN's up there in price. Jacobs has been inefficient this year. The Breece Hall, the Cooks, like I like those price tags there, but James Cook has Latavius Murray and then Breece Hall has Zach Wilson. Like there's questions with a lot of these guys, but I'll probably play Pollard. He'll probably get 4. And who knows if Singletary will be monitoring that all the way up until Sunday. That's important. James Conner's fine too. He's 68. I think he's totally fine. Richie Small is definitely a big bump for the Arizona offense as we saw last week.
Yeah, certainly. I'm good with Conner as well. Like he'll get all the work for sure. And that's a game that's definitely appealing. I think you want some pieces for cash games for sure. The Cardinals and the Texans. Let's head over to DK and see what we can find there. Running back position. McCaffrey, way more affordable, 9,300. His game fits DK scoring better. Well, I mean, his game fits all scoring fine, but better on DK with the pass catching, which you saw last week. I mean, he had a nice score on DK, didn't find the end zone. On FanDuel, probably a little bit of a disappointment if you paid the big boy price. Singletary at 53, like we talked about. You talked about Tony Pollard. Yeah, I mean, much better play on FanDuel at 69 versus the 6.6 over here on DK. The position's just a little bit tougher. You see, you go to the value, sort it, just not as many guys popping as solid values. Aaron Jones, again, 6,200 if he plays. He's a great play. ETN gets a better price tag on DK here at 72, and his game might fit it a little bit better. Barkley, we have to see about. Austin Eckler, always a better DK type play where you can just get there with all the catches. And then Brian Robinson at 58, he's going to move way up this list when this update hits. I mean, we still have Antonio Gibson in for 8 fantasy points. Most of that is going to Brian Robinson. He's going to probably be projected for, I don't know, probably like 18 on DK. And he's going to be way up this list. He's probably a staple play on DK, but pretty, I'd say more open. We really need this news on the Texans, though, with Dameon Pierce, because if Pierce is out, Singletary is just a very easy play, lock button type play for cash games. And then you're probably deciding, between like Aaron Jones, or do you have the money to spend up on McCaffrey, that sort of decision making. But it's looking like Singletary, assuming that the news breaks his way, and Brian Robinson. Thoughts here on DK running back?
Yep, I see it like you do. Kind of similar to FanDuel. The difference is the Pollard price tag better on FanDuel than DK. And then take that to tournaments. That means I'd have more interest in Pollard in tournaments on DK than FanDuel. And the Dak passing game, probably more FanDuel than DK. Brian Robinson, better price tag on DK than FanDuel. Still a strong play on FanDuel and definitely cast consideration at 7-2. But like Aaron Jones is cheaper on FanDuel than Brian Robinson, and it's vice versa on DK. So always got to look at the pricing game. Like James Conner is more in play if Singletary's out, that 5.7 price tag. Like I still prefer Brian Robinson to James Conner without Gibson, and I prefer Singletary for the savings over Conner. But if we lose that, I think Conner gets a big bump. Still a good price tag on Breece. I don't know. I'm considering Jahmyr Gibbs. I get the projection isn't great right now. It is pretty tough to project that backfield with Montgomery and Gibbs, but I mean, Dan Campbell's talked about it ever since DMont went down. Like Gibbs is going to get work, and he's been great. 25 plus in his last 3 games or something. fits DK scoring well, great matchup with the Bears. That's something, I don't know if I haven't projected high. I don't know if it's if you know ball, you jam him in, but I think he's totally in play at that 7K range too. If you can't get the McCaffreys or something like that, like I much prefer him to Pollard if I had the money, even Brees, stuff like that. So I think it's similar. Singletary news is going to be huge.
Yeah, that's big.
Or Pierce news is going to be huge on Singletary.
Yeah. I just noticed Derrick Henry is $6,300. Like, wow, times have changed.
Still brutal down there. Yeah, they got to trade him. Like they're playing Pierce too much. They got to let him cook somewhere else.
Yeah, it just doesn't fit. Let's head on over wide receivers, see what we can find over there. Our projections, obviously, loving Tyreek Hill. I mean, he's a phenomenal play. The 27 it's an aggressive number. If you're going to look around the industry and compare, it's an aggressive number, but that's what our projections are kind of all about. Like, we're not necessarily trying to be the same as everyone else. You look at a lot of other sites, they're going to be very similar. They're going to be an aggregate number of all the projections. We run our system and see what it spits out, and it's a big boy number on Tyreek Hill. I'm fine with it. They're big favorites at home, projected to score basically 30 points against a pretty bad defense. So he's popping off the page. Probably able to get him too if you want this week. Like, there's going to be enough value to make it all happen, certainly. But other guys like Tank Dell is going to be a good play regardless. Nico Collins news. I'm assuming it's not what you said. It sounded like he was going to play right on track. I think Tank Dell is still fine. Like, he's got a great connection with Stroud. I guess it's my guy now, CeeDee Lamb. I mean, 9,200, he's right there. Probably prefer Tyreek for cash games, but Lamb's been phenomenal. Marquise Brown, 5,300, really strong option. Cooper Kupp, 81. I think he's fine for cash games. I don't hate Terry McLaurin at 58. There's two cheap guys I wanted to mention. The first one is going to be at 3,300 if you need a full punt. Rondale Moore got 8 targets, I believe, last week, 8 or 9. Good connection with Kyler, and he played a lot more with Kyler. So there's definitely something there. And then the other option, Smith and Jigba, JSN, 4,300. Didn't do much last week, but they're targeting him pretty heavily prior to that. So just a few names there that kind of stand out for cash games. I don't know. I think you can go a lot of different directions. Just looking at this, seems like Marquise Brown is probably, the best value, cheap type guy at 53. But a lot of different directions you can go here. What are your thoughts?
I mean, Hollywood's always the best projected. You keep playing them, and they keep missing them for 40-yard touchdowns. And
maybe just go Rondale.
Yeah, Rondale and Michael Wilson right there, 3,400. You're looking at that too. They run a bunch of 3 receiver sets. Kyler looked good, man. His ACL, he can move on it. How many? Then you might get to the thing like Trey McBride will get to tight end, like easy play on DK. How many Cardinals are too many? You could run into that, but I think all of them are in play for sure. Wilson, Rondale, Kyler, all good price, playing fast in a dome. I like that game, all of that. Tyreek, you got the money. 27, it's a little ambitious, but I mean, it's Tyreek. Who's going to argue at all with that? And the nut matchup, no one on Vegas is guarding him. So love Tyreek. If I don't have the money there, I got CD at 6% owned, 5% owned, and Salmon Cash last week. Not going to do that this week. I much prefer the Tyreek for 100 more, but it just shows some people so much groupthink and stuff. Hey, if you land on a little low one play and you like it, go for it at the end of the day. Like maybe that's a Cooper Kupp this week. 8.1K, Stafford back. Yeah, Puka's a fine price too, but man, Kupp, I'll definitely be playing that game or that side in tournaments. No doubt.
Well, it's to a price where, it's at a price where you could make it work, where you're getting two massive upside guys and like Tyreek and Kupp together, or even Lamb and Kupp together. Like, I'm with you. Like, I'm definitely fine going that direction.
Especially, like 2 tight end. I used 2 tight ends last week. There's some viable tight ends. There's Rondale Moore. You could play at the flex. So like, you don't need to go 3. Like, and I'm saying this because that means there's no running backs price below 3K, assuming everyone goes 3 running backs. You can go 4 receivers, play a double spend, and then go a cheap tight end or cheap receiver and flex. So no, it's definitely viable. Like Cooper Kupp 8-1 with Stafford. That's something you can sign me up for. Terry McLaurin, I like that price tag. Love Waddle in tournaments as the pivot from Tyreek, not in cash games, though. Christian Kirk, solid price tag, coming off some pretty big games. I think he is fine. Yeah, I think that's mainly it. A lot of those Arizona guys, Tyreek, great play. No Noah Brown, so Tank Dell is a given. And if Nico Collins comes back, what's his price?
He's 67.
Yeah, that's maybe
Kind of up there.
Yeah, a little more than I want. Robert Woods is 3.7.
3.7. Yeah, you can throw him in the cheap mix, but probably prefer the Arizona guys over him.
That's my thoughts. Yeah. The Noah Brown, because he operated a lot out of the slot, though. So I'd expect a lot of those to be Woods, and Brown had a pretty big role. But yeah, I think it's mainly those Arizona guys, the Tank Dell, Tyreeks, McLaurins. I think we had a pretty good pool.
Yep. Over on FanDuel, same thing. Tyreek's going to show up as a really solid play, but on FanDuel, Waddle continues to be cheap at 7,100. I really like Waddle at 71 on FanDuel, 7.6. I think he's a great tournament play, like you just talked about. Tank Dell, a little more expensive at 7K, but probably fine with him as is. Cooper Kupp at 82, similar price tag. I think he's a strong play. Again, he's priced where you have the chance to potentially play two, spend ups at the wide receiver position. DK Metcalf, cheaper on FanDuel, same as Lockett, 69.72. Fine going that direction. Marquise Brown is way more expensive though on FanDuel. We saw Marquise over on DK way up here as one of the top values. On FanDuel at 66, he kind of sinks down here a little bit, but our guy, if you're looking for the punt, Rondale Moore is only 4,900. He's below 5K on FanDuel. I think he's firmly in the cash conversation. Let's see. Terry McLaurin, I don't know if I mentioned him yet, but 68, I'd be fine going that route. I don't know, not much else, to be honest with you. You seeing anything?
I think the punts are Rondale and Woods. Like Michael Wilson, he's 54, whereas Woods 51, Rondale 49. So I think those are very in play, and not many weeks. I don't know about not many weeks, but at least half the weeks we don't have all the guys all the way in high 4K, low 5K range that you go to. It's a lot of those 6K, high 5.9 options. So which I like because it makes Tyreek definitely in play. Cooper Kupp, a great price tag still. Puka, and Puka fits FanDuel scoring better as well. So yeah, I think the Rams guys a little more in play, even though I liked Kupp and them on DK. Still pretty much the same guys. We love Tyreek, Tank Dell. That price tag still fine. It looks expensive, still great. Christian Kirk, big role, mentioned him. Jalen Waddle, that's the big price difference for sure. 7,100 on FanDuel. So I don't know, maybe that keeps Tyreek a little lower, and he's 98. So that alone will keep it a little lower, but especially people don't want to play. That might be scared to play both.
For cash games, I think Waddle gets more of it than Tyreek. Yeah. So I think.
But I wouldn't be worried if you have both. Like if I have Tyreek and if I can get Tyreek, someone might just ask that. Don't worry. Maybe you have a different approach, but.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be fine with it in cash. I mean, you're not too worried about the correlation stuff. I mean, personally, I think you should definitely play Waddle.
Yeah.
If you have a build where it gets you Tyreek as well, I would not be looking to pivot off of that. Not actively to get it.
Yeah. Any interest in Mechie? Mechie's he's the Houston number 3 now,
46.
probably. I still would not, probably in cash games on both sites. I don't think we need that. Like that's close enough to Rondale, to Woods, on DK to Michael Wilson. He has talent. I mean, I think he tore his ACL last year. He's stuck behind a good wide receiver group. So maybe take the shot in tournaments. I think it'll probably be 1 or 2% cash games. Just play the roles that are more secure.
Yeah. Tournaments, if you're playing Stroud, I think is where you kind of deploy him. I don't think for cash games. I think there's more stable guys in that price range. Tight end, I think we have some solid options here at very fair price tags. We're sticking with FanDuel, and the top 3 guys here listed are the 3 that I prefer: Ingram, Kincaid, and McBride. I think all are very, very solid options. Our projections are liking Ingram the best, but for me, it's probably Kincaid or McBride one of those two. I wouldn't fault you, though, if you went Ingram. I mean, it's 57 for Ingram, 58 for Kincaid, 59 for McBride, all very, very solid options. I think you're probably choosing one of those guys. I mean, you come down, Dalton Schultz is fine, Laporte is fine, but to me, they're just similar plays to these guys that are $1,000 cheaper, and I think I could make that $1,000 go a long way in cash games. So our projections like these three guys up top, and I think those are the three that are the most cash game eligible on FanDuel. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree for sure. The only thing I'd say is I think would be more willing to go Komet at 56, and that's literally just saying I have $0 left in my build and I love everything.
Yeah.
Then I would probably the Laportas and up there, but I agree it's those three. If I had to pick them, I mean, with Trey McBride's role right now, probably him, but he's also the highest price. So if that 100, 200, 300 goes a long way, I'm good at going to any of those guys.
Yeah, 9 targets, 8 catches, 131 yards. I mean, Kyler likes him. Yeah, Kyler likes him. He looks good. Everything's checking out at this point, like everything. So, yeah, probably him. But I like Kincaid quite a bit as well. So it's probably one of those two. Over on DraftKings, I'm fairly certain it's going to be pretty damn similar. So Kometz has a nice – so, yeah, probably Kincaid probably out of the mix. I mean, he's, I don't know, $600 more expensive than Ingram, McBride. DK, it's probably just McBride. But, again, that situation that you alluded to with Komet, if you play him, you can make it all right. Double tight end, like you talked about, that's in play as well. But my favorite would probably be McBride. And you're definitely going cheap. I mean, there's just nothing to really spend on here when you sort by salary. So, yeah, I mean, it's going to be one of those cheap guys. I think they're very strong options.
Yep. Right now, I definitely want McBride. Like that 100 – like FanDuel feels like the 100 can go a little farther. There's one less roster spot. I don't know. Maybe that's just me thinking, but I want McBride on DK. It feels like he's even better than like the full point PPR, whereas FanDuel, everything just makes way more sense on. I like him on both sides, but DK and playing them, and I do think 2 tight ends are viable, though, like I mentioned too.
Yeah, I mean, our projections are liking Ingram. I prefer McBride for sure. So yeah, it's kind of where we're at. Let's we'll talk some defense real quick on DK. So the top values are a little more expensive this week. Steelers 3,500, which makes sense going up against the third string quarterback essentially. Washington at home against the Giants. I mean, anyone playing the Giants from here on out is going to show up as a good value. You got the Dolphins at 32. See if we can find a cheapie. Don't hate the Jets. I mean, they're going up against the Bills, and it's been a turnover disaster for the Bills. So I don't hate going with the Jets. Yeah.
They fired their OC Dorsey, so new OC this week too. I mean,
I'd be fine going there. I don't know. Nothing's really standing out to me at defense. Anything for you?
No, it's a story. So last week I played Baltimore Ravens D at 2% owned, and I think Cowboys was 48% owned or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And I try and preach it most builds had Cowboys for me. I fell on a build I loved with. I didn't have the 400. Sure, there's so much volatility in this position. If there's a very cheap defense, like we had week 1 with the Commanders taking on a backup quarterback, that's a cash lock. Like you don't get away from that because they're cheap and they're already in the best spot. When you're 4,400 or 5,000 or you're spending all the way up, there's no such thing as a lock. You can always get off them because the most random shit can happen. What did they give up 7 or something and still scored 7? Defense is nothing. There's no cheap ones that stand out. So play whoever you land on. Yeah.
FanDuel way more soft at the defensive position. So we got the Steelers at 4K. 4K is, I don't know, it's like an average price, I guess, for a defense. I mean, that's cheap.
2,700 probably on DK, 2,800.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. So they stand out for sure. And then the 49ers at home against Tampa Bay, they're favored by 11.5. They're coming in at 4K. Very strong option. Dolphins 4,200. Very strong option. Jaguars at home 4,300. You can go a lot of different ways, I think, on FanDuel at defense for cash. On DK, it's just going to be a little more difficult. I mean, there's 5 or 6 different cash game defenses I see here. on this list. So
yeah, if I had to guess, probably wouldn't get all the way. 47's a lot, and Steelers, Niners, Giants, Dolphins, Chargers, they all project similar enough to the savings that, like, that's just my initial thoughts on D, though. If I've had 4,700 and I love my team, I'd play them. So we'll let you know if we think there's like week 1, we were like, play Washington D.
Washington,
We'll let you know if we think there's a clear lock. But even last week, 50%, I didn't play him. I don't think you had to.
All right. Any final thoughts in regards to cash games? I mean, it seems like it should be a pretty fun week. I think there's, some clear plays. I think there's definitely a couple of different paths you can go. So I think it's a fun one for cash games, to be honest. What are your thoughts?
I agree. And Damian Pierce news is big. Singletary
very big
on both sides for sure. So yeah, it's going to be a fun one. Tournaments, I think, the more just talking through it, obviously cash games, even if you just play tournaments, I think watching this show is very sharp to know where ownership goes, what pivots you can make. Playing just initial tourney thoughts, Dallas on FanDuel, passing game, since Pollard's going to be Uber over there, is very interesting. And then
your boy's trying to retire on that move.
Do it on FanDuel.
I know. Trust me. I'm trying to. That's been my move twice so far this year. So we'll see. Maybe go 3 for 3.
I'll shut my mouth on the second one, but yeah, that keeps printing. We'll see if he does it again.
Yeah, it's been a fun ride. So all our content, like I said, gets up early over at ShipItNation.com. Player pool, slate plan, core plays, cash core plays, everything you need to be successful at DFS. It's been a hell of a ride over here. I mean, big time wins for our team, for our members. We always say the momentum continues to grow, and looking forward to week 11. I think this is a good one on all sides. Cash, GPPs, it's a fun one. We've had a couple weeks in a row where had a lot of low total games and just nasty situations. This one, I think there's a lot of different directions to go. So looking forward to this. So make sure, again, hit the like, hit the subscribe on this video. Appreciate your support there. Make sure you get on over at ShipItNation.com. If you're not a member, give us a try. Think you'll like it. Very cheap price. Content up early and available so you can start building your teams. Very friendly Discord. A lot of people in there chatting 24/7 for multiple sports, all the sports basically. So yeah, get on over there. Check it out. Good luck this week in your cash games and GPPs. Go out there and ship something. We'll be back next Friday with another edition of the Cash Show.